Just letting me know you can hear me in the chat box is fine. Just so, because last week I had some sound issues. So I just want to know that. Okay, great, great. Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on today's episode. I'll just turn on my video in a bit. Please, if you're just joining in, please mute your mics. Please, if you're just joining in, kindly mute your mic. Hi, good evening, everybody. I can see. Please mute your mics, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please, if you can just mute your mics, that would be great. So there's always time for interactions, as we always do here on Parents Connect. Thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Parents Connect. Like I keep saying, it takes a village to raise a child. But since we're in the digital age and the world is now a global village, it takes parents, teachers, caregivers from all walks of life and in different locations to also raise children. So to also raise children. So we're doing it the digital way since we're in the digital era. Thank you. Somebody says I look so good today. Thank you very much. Says I'm blushing. All right, my name is Akila Chikeje, and I'm the founder of Early Flight Academy. Early Flight Academy is an organization with a grand vision of raising Africa's next generation of entrepreneurs, change makers, leaders, innovators. And we do this by holding different education programs for kids and teens between the ages of 6 to 16. We hold entrepreneurship classes. We believe in pushing entrepreneurship education for young people. We hold leadership classes as well. We also hold financial literacy and financial intelligence education. We also encourage young people to get into technology and digital skills early. So we have all these packages in our various programs that you get to know as we progress. But we decided to host Parents Connect as a web series. The aim is to have conversations with parents, caregivers, teachers, anybody who is interested and responsible for the raising of young people. Want to have conversations around things that concern young people, so that we can reach our target audience as well as an organization, hence Parents Connect. So thank you to every single person who is on this call tonight, about 24 people. I'm so glad to have you. And I'm really, really excited to see how we keep growing as a community. Without further ado, today, as the flyer says, we're going to be having a conversation. We are having a conversation on financial literacy for young people, for teens and for kids. And as usual, I usually try to have a pre-webinar chat, drive conversations on social media, on WhatsApp, on Twitter, and try to get people's opinions about various things. And there's something that I noticed as a person, and quite a number of my friends have also agreed with me in that regard and in that sense. When it comes to financial literacy or financial intelligence, that is the ability to know about money, the knowledge of money and its entirety, how to handle it and every other thing around it. A lot of people did not learn that skill from their parents, if at all they did learn it. A lot of people did not learn that skill from their parents. And a lot of people grew up knowing their parents as rich people when we were much younger. But over time, it seems like the money developed wings and flew away or whatnot. But we're here to say, okay, let's have this conversation about money. you keep making money, you're building a firm foundation for your children. The wealth you are amassing, the money you're building, are these kids well equipped to handle this wealth you're building? Are they well equipped? Are they being raised to handle this wealth you're building? I'll tell you a funny story. Somebody said that he bought Tesla shares for his son and gifted it to him on his 18th birthday. Now, if those of us who know about Tesla, the company, we know that giving a child a Tesla shares as at when buying them much earlier and gifting it to him when he was 18, it's a very, very big financial gift. And you know what? This child went and sold the Tesla shares. He sold it. And his father was so upset. His father built wealth thinking he was buying these shares for his son. And then handing it over to him when he was 18 on his 18th birthday, this boy went and sold the share. So can you really blame the child? Did his father really teach him about money and financially? So that is why we're having this conversation. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce the speaker. I'm not the one dissecting this topic. I'm just here to moderate the session, but we have somebody who is very capable, very, very, very capable. She's already dropping nuggets inside the chat box, but she's going to handle it. Her name is Gbonjubola Sanni. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but yes, she's a graduate of University of Ilorin in Kwara State, and she holds a bachelor's degree in agriculture. But then after that, she became a member of the Association of Accounting Technicians and ICANN certified. Her career has spanned an audit practice in KPMG. She has a very rich professional career, KPMG, Cadre, and whatnot. She has worked as a financial planner. She is a thorough leader who has held various leadership positions while in school and church. But after a while, her focus changed to help people live a life of their dreams. She's an author. She's a co-author of a book, Financial Intelligence for Young People, which I'll be introducing to us later. But without further ado, please help me make welcome our guest for today, Mrs. Sanni.
Thank you for the warm welcome. I hope I'm clear enough.
Very clear, very clear.
Okay. Please bear with me if my lighting is not too good. I just need a comfortable place. So this is where I chose today. Okay, so from the introduction, I'm going to pick some things. The introduction she has already done. I've sent a chat to the chat room. I don't know if we've all seen it, but a survey shows there are a lot of surveys. We have foreign surveys, we have Nigerian surveys, but for companies that work with high net worth people, the survey shows that 90% of wealthy Nigerian families lose their wealth by the second generation, as recent findings show that only a few Nigerian families have been able to successfully transfer their wealth to a third generation. So, I'm also just agreeing with what she was saying. But I would also like to add that even though we as adults now think we didn't learn financial literacy from our parents, we learned it. Unfortunately, we learned what they did. And that is what our children are also learning. So much more than what you will teach your children about money, your children are watching you and they are learning. I'm not an educationist, but I know educational psychology says that by the time a child is 7, the child is formed. So a 7-year I don't know if I was muted at any point in time.
Yeah, so sorry, but you're back
Okay.
now.
Okay. So I don't know where I stopped.
You said a 7-year-old is already formed.
Yes, a 7-year-old is formed with respect to their knowledge about life. They know how to treat a man if it's a woman, a girl. A boy child already has a faint idea of how to treat his wife. They know how to handle money by watching the people they've grown up with. So they've had bits and pieces of information all scattered all over. If you don't engage them, you may not know what they know. That's what happens with children. But if you begin to engage them, not even only about money, about life generally, making the best of teachable moments, asking them questions, knowing what they know, between the age of 7 and 14, you can do a lot to correct some of the things they've learned if that's not what you really want them to know. So going to our topic for today, financial literacy for children. What is financial intelligence? What is financial intelligence? Financial intelligence is the ability to solve a financial problem whenever you come across one. And we will always come across one because on a daily basis, you have to do something with money. Going to work, coming back, paying fees, buying fuel, anything you want to do, there will be one decision or the other you have to make with money. And the only way, as parents and as our children can learn is that they need to be able to understand the relationship between work, sharing, saving, and spending. Those 4 concepts, they need to be able to understand it. When I teach very young children, I just teach them work and then the 3S of money. It's easier for them to remember there's 3S. So you can also try and just remember it that way. Working is the starting point, then there's sharing, there's saving, and then there's spending. So as parents, we need to be able to help our children see the flow and the relationship. The funny thing is, without being conscious of it, many of us don't really help our children to know how money comes about, how you're able to get money, what you do to be able to get the money, what is right to do to get the money, and all of that. So children need to be able to understand this. Some years ago, I was with some toddlers or children within the age of 3 to 5, and I was teaching them about money in a school. So the first question I asked was, children, what do you do with money? Or what do you know about money? And all of them shouted, spend. I already mentioned earlier that what we need to be able to help our children to understand is the flow from money, from working to sharing to saving before spending. Unfortunately, almost every child, the only thing that comes to their mind is how to spend money. They're not thinking about any other thing. So because for them, most times what they see you do is to spend. You take them out, you buy stuff, you celebrate something for them. Anything you do is about spending money around them. So we need to be a lot more conscious about how to help them understand the other aspects of money. And to be able to help them understand these things, the first question you can ask your children or make them answer or get them to, understand is what is work. For younger children, get them to define what work is and then explain to them how you work, what you do, how money comes about. I remember some years back, I'm sure it's maybe like 7 years now or even more. My son was much younger and we were in traffic and he saw some people begging and he blotted out, why are these people begging people? And nobody is really, caring about them and they're just going all over the place, begging. Why can't they just go to the ATM and withdraw some money? So like I mentioned earlier, that's a teachable moment. It was a moment for me to help him understand. Even though I was driving, I quickly explained to him why they were not able, to go to the ATM, because for people who have money in the ATM, there must have been an exchange for one reason or the other. There could be exchange of value. Sometimes it's also value that gives us the opportunity to get gifts from other people. So gifts could also be a source of income, because sometimes some people get a lot of financial gifts, which can be a substantial part of their income. So you'll be able to explain the value chain, the fact that you develop yourself to be able to give out value, and then somebody pays you for that value. So I explained the relationship and how that worked, and they were able to understand why those people were not, why they couldn't go to the ATM to withdraw any money. So children need to understand that work is an effort. They need to get something done. Everyone needs to get something done to make money. Work is what someone does to make money. Money will not just come. There needs to be an exchange. Some value needs to go out. Some work needs to be done. There needs to be a task. It could be a trade. It could be a profession. It could be anything, but there needs to be an exchange of value. So, and as young as they are, you can begin to ask them, how can you contribute value to the world? Not necessarily asking them, what do you want to become? What value can you contribute to the world, that can help you to begin to make money? They are not too young to begin to think about these things. And interestingly, from some of our classes that we've done in the past, we have been able to encourage some children to start businesses. And you have children who are photographers, you have children who model, you have children who do a number of things. Some children write, and they've been able to write books, some do comics, and they've done quite a bit for themselves, and they've started to make money. So children can begin to understand these things. But of course, let me also draw a note of caution. We are not supposed to put pressure on them. You allow them to be able to, don't put pressure to say, oh, somebody is 7 years old, the person is already making money. What are you doing? Why can't you do it? No. Just identify their gifts. Allow them to try out different things. It could be music, it could be art, it could be anything, it could be drawing. Just allow them to keep exploring till they can identify value that they have. Because the truth is, a lot of the value we have, even as adults, we already had them as children. We're only just building on them. We didn't just arrive when we were adults. All of these things some have been innate, and then it was built upon, and then we are where we are now. And then I also like to just quickly add that for teenagers, it's very important that you begin to encourage them to do something to make money. From 14 or even 13, you can allow your children to begin to do holiday jobs, do something that can help them to begin to make money by themselves, so they can begin to experience work. One of the things allowing children experience these things does is the fact that you can begin to correct their different ideologies about these things. You can begin to correct it. As we go further, I will explain what I mean further. So sometimes children can ask you, why do I have to work? Why do I really need to work? If my needs are met, can't I just, be at home and not do anything and make money? So you need to be able to explain to them that the fact that they are even productive is good for them as individuals. Then also explain the fact that they cannot maintain a particular standard of living if they don't work. If I, as a parent, am able to give them a particular standard of living, the only way they can maintain it or even do better for themselves is if they make up their minds that they work. No one, makes money without working. Even those that do something illegitimate, they are also working. It's just that what they are doing is not right or is not good. And then the fact that we are creative beings, we need to be able to explore and have a purpose that our lives are about. So those are some of the reasons why we need to work. So you can help them to understand as you explain. And of course, you can use your own example and what you have been able to achieve as their parent to also explain. Then after helping them with the world of work, then of course, I think I've talked about that already. What work am I supposed to do? So you can help them explore what are their gifts, what are their abilities, what special passions do they have, what talents do they have, what experiences have they had that can help them to be able to, deploy a particular value to the society. It could be anything. Some children are able to sing even from childhood. Some children are very good with their hands with respect to drawing. Some children can dance. All of these things can be harnessed, so that they can begin to see that they have value that they can give to others. After the concept of work is understood and how money can be made is already understood, then children need to understand the concept of share, save, and spend. We don't just make money and spend it without planning. We need to help them to understand the repercussion of doing that. So they need to understand that after making money, you don't just spend everything. There needs to be some planning for a number of reasons. Okay, so when it comes to managing money, after the money has been made, for 2 to 6 years old, okay, I haven't said this, but I'll quickly mention it so that we're all aware. From as young as 2 years of age, 2 years, a 2-year-old child can understand money concepts. You can explain to a 2-year-old. So, but of course, the different things you will explain to them, and then the depth is what will differ. So, if your child hasn't started making money, one of the things you can do is to allow them to handle money. Start allowing them to handle money. It could be by giving them pocket money. It could be when they have gifts, allow them to be the administrator of their gifts. So for 2 to 6-year-olds, they are too young to think long term. So whenever they make money, allow them to spend 100% of it. Of course, not immediately. So you need to allow them to keep a piggy bank or a bank a manual bank at home, specifically at home, not in a bank, because the only way they can understand this concept is when they see what you are talking about. So they need to be able to put their money somewhere, save it. So you can give them quarterly targets to say, if you are able to keep your money, if you are able to save this way, then this is what I'm going to help you to do. So allow them to save their money, and then maybe on a quarterly basis or biannually, allow them to use it to do something of value, something that is valuable to them. Don't be the one to make the decision on what they want to do with the money. Help them to understand. And what this does is that it helps them to see the value, how their money became what they wanted, and how that is all they could have, because so many times children want many things and different things. But if you teach them to save by themselves and get some things by themselves, then they begin to see that in life there are choices to make. In life, you have to delay gratification and all of that. So those are some of the things you teach your child when they begin to manage money from the age of 2 to about 6 years. For children who are between the age of 7 to 12 years, they can handle the concept of save, share, and spend. And at that age, you can allow them to save 30%, share 30%. When I say share, I mean giving. Share 30%, and then they can spend the balance 40%. And at every point in time, it's very important that we teach our children that life is not all about them. Okay, so they also need to start learning to be to give, to be a blessing to other people. So that's why sharing is very important. So they save for the future, they save for things they want to have, they want to spend money on, things they like to have by themselves. Let it not be that at all times as a parent, you get your child everything they want. Let it also be that they work to, and when I say work, I don't mean literally go to work, but they make an effort to be able to get what they want. And some of their savings money can do this. And you can also encourage your child to start saving for the future. So even if it's little monies that they get, let them get a portion out of it. You can, encourage them to maybe first of all start putting it in the bank, and then subsequently you can open a mutual fund or something for them, and they know they also contributed something into that. So when I say share, let children learn how to be a blessing. Okay, in our club activities, one of the things I make the children do is that they need to save an amount of money and give to charity. So, and giving doesn't necessarily mean doing the extraordinary. No, it could be just to buy a pair of slippers. It could be maybe all the money they could get together cannot buy more than a set of a pack of tissue. It could be anything, but just the thought that they can do it and they can be a blessing to other children makes it very interesting. When my children were in primary school, they had a day in their school that they have to give to charity. I always don't contribute to what they do. So they are the ones, looking for how they are going to get the money, they put it together. And at that time, whatever the money can buy, they are able to buy it, and then they take it to be a blessing to other people. So this helps to begin to shape the mind of your child, to understand that life is not about them alone. Sometimes we need to be a blessing to other people. There will always be more needy people. So they should also manage their own expectations and not be all selfish, just thinking about themselves alone. So after they've done these two, then they can think about spending. So they can now spend. Don't make children save and save and save. Don't make children spend, give and give and give only. Allow them also to experience spending. Let them, sometimes take some money and buy what they want to buy. As you do all of this, you will begin to see who your child really is. Some children from age 6, you will see that they are spendthrifts. You will see it. Their tendencies will be very obvious. And some of the things you can do is to begin to correct these things as their children. It's easier to correct a child, than to teach a family man how to spend money, or a woman. It could be men, it could be women. These things can be learned while they are still children. Okay, so I'm trying to look for an example, to give, but maybe I should just proceed. For children who are in their teenage years and above, and also even for adults, once they begin to have money, then there is more to it than just the 3S. There's the thought of the future. There's the thought of a lot of expenses coming around that they need to spend money on. There's the fact that now they are getting older and they need to start thinking about themselves and personal development. There's also the fact that relaxation is important as you grow older too. Life is not all about work, just like that. I don't know what it is, but all work and no play, makes Jack a dull boy. So children need to be entertained, they need to relax, adults also need it. So when you are talking to teenagers about money, then you need to expand it, because now they need to start thinking about money more like an adult as against just a child. So for them, they have 6 components, to think about when it comes to money. They need to think about financial freedom, and what that is that they need to start setting aside 10% of every income or any money that they make towards financial freedom. So it's investment, it's towards retirement. It's not too early, to start if they can imbibe that culture now and continue with it. Because usually when we teach adults about financial literacy, what we say is the day you should start planning for your retirement is the day you started working, not when you discover that you are now 40 and retirement is closed, or you are even 50 and you are wondering, what have you been doing all these days? So 10% of every income that comes to them needs to be set aside for them to start planning for investment towards retirement. Okay, then another 10%, they can set it aside as long-term savings for spending. I know even as adults, many of us get it wrong. We save, and then from our savings we spend, and then a lot of times our savings go back to zero. There should be a demarcation between the saving for the future and then the saving for big spendings. Okay, so if you have to save towards a car or save towards a large purchase, it could be anything depending on your needs. That is 10% that should go towards that. Then another 10% should go towards personal development. So as young children, encourage them to start to think about getting better on a regular basis. So your child has some money, let the child set aside 10% of it towards education. And education, not for their school fees, but for them to become better. It could be to buy a literature to read, it could be to attend a training, it could be to attend a seminar, just something that gets them better than they really are outside of school. So they need to begin to think about education. And those are some of the things as a parent, you need to begin to, help them to understand, because research shows that the more you develop yourself, the higher the tendency for you to earn more money, so, and even there's a correlation between the percentage of your income that you spend on personal development and how your earnings will also increase, so the more you become, the more you can earn. So they need to understand the relationship between that, because I think a lot more children these days are prefer entertainment than personal development. They think once they've done school, they're fine. Now they can have fun, watch TV, go to the movies, just have fun. So you need to be able to help them to understand that from now, they need to learn that the only way they can get value is when they become more. And the only way they can become more is when they develop themselves. And the only way they can develop themselves is when they ensure that there's income or money set aside for this. Yes, your children may not be able to finance it on their own, but you need to begin to make them responsible for some of these things, and then you can support the process. Then another 10% can be set aside for play. Yes, they are planning for the future, they are planning for the things they want to spend money on, they are planning for personal development. You also need to help them to see that, yeah, fun is part of life, they can also set money aside towards having fun. And then, of course, not the least and not the last, 10% of whatever income or money they get should also go to charity. So they need to imbibe the culture of giving, of being a blessing to other people. And then after that, 50% that is left can be spent. So once a child is 13, begin to help the child to think the way an adult should think. And so they need to be able to understand these 6 jars, these 6 components, why the 6 components, the different categories, and what they need to do with each of them. Okay, so after saying all of this, I know since I started teaching children about money, I've heard a lot from parents. Some parents feel, why do we really teach children about money? Is it not too much information? Is it not overexposure and all of that? First of all, anything like I mentioned earlier that by the time your child is 7, your child knows a lot already. I'm sure many of us can identify, even though you think your parents didn't teach you about money, a lot of us are exhibiting the traits of our parents or the people we live with when it comes to money, and even other things. Sometimes, even as a mother now, there are some things I do and I wonder, why did I really do that? Okay, it's because I've observed someone do it over and over and over again, and that's what I get to do. So it's essential to teach our children about money, because it will help us to be deliberate about even our own actions. Okay, if I'm telling my child, you need to save, you need to give, you need to do this, you need to do that, I need to be able to also show by example. So when we teach them, we force ourselves to begin to do the things we should do in the first place. And of course, if we are not able to do some of these things, we will also be able to explain to them why things are the way they are, and what they can learn from it and what we have also learned from it. So why is it essential to teach our children about money? First thing I'll say is it teaches patience. So teaching children about money is more about values. It's about teaching them a lot of values. In the process of teaching a child about money, you're teaching patience, because a child that wants to buy something needs to set goals, needs to plan the finances. Even if it's just 500 naira, the child is planning it. I will use 100 naira to give to charity. I will spend 200 naira. I will save 200 naira, or whatever the case may be. So your child is learning to set goals and to keep to the goals. And then also your child is waiting for these goals to be achieved. So a young child who is given the mandate to save for 3 months to be able to buy a toy or something is learning delayed gratification. So even as adults, many of us haven't quite learned it. Sometimes we don't know how to wait for things. We buy them here and now, even though we know we can't afford it yet. And then also teaching children about money helps them to learn choices. If all a child has is 1,000 naira and he needs to buy 3 different things that are 1,000 naira each, then you help the child to be able to make the decision. One of the things I've noticed working with children when it comes to money is that by the time you make them spend their money on the things they want, you see that they don't really want those things. The only reason why they want it is because it's your money. So when you tell children, this is your money, you've saved it, now you can buy this, then they'll tell you, maybe it's not that important, maybe I can wait, maybe I'll wait till I can get more money and all of that. Then you teach them choices, they begin to see, they understand needs, they understand wants and all of that. Then you also teach them long-term thinking. You help them to understand that it's important that they don't spend all they have today. They need to begin to plan for the future. They need to have a long-term approach to life and living. And these are some of the values that children get to learn. Also, it takes, as adults, it takes a lot of work and time to be able to accumulate things before we are able to do a number of things for them and even for ourselves. So those are some of the things we are able to teach our children. So it's important, to teach children about money, because much more than word money, you're teaching them patience, you're teaching them choices, you're teaching them long-term thinking. So I will stop there for now. I think my time is up.
Oh, yes.
So we can.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sanni. I'm sure we all, that's like almost 40 minutes of pure knowledge and wisdom. We've been talking about, for those of us who joined in after she started, today's conversation was around financial literacy for young people, for kids, children, and for teens. And she's been giving us practical, actionable steps and tips on how to start the money conversation with our children, on tips and things we can actually do for our children to start having value and understanding of money. So thank you very much, Mrs. Sanni. And we're going to quickly go in. I know time is fast spent, but we're going to quickly go into our question, answer, comment, and opinion section. So you know how we do it. I'm always the first to ask anyways. But if you have anything to say, any question, you can drop it in the chat box, or you can just raise your hand, signify with the raise of your hand, and I will unmute you. Like I always say, Parents Connect is an interactive platform. We're all here to learn, unlearn, relearn. So there's no one person who is the custodian of knowledge. We're all here to learn. So if you have something to say, we're going to quickly go in there. But before we go in there, just before we go in there, I'm going to quickly talk to us about a very useful resource that Mrs. Sanni has written. She has a book, actually volume 1 and 2. It's called The ABC of Financial Intelligence, volume 1 and volume 2. Now I'm going to tell you that I own the volume 2 copy. Interestingly, my mom bought this volume 2 copy about maybe it's more than 10 years ago actually that she bought volume 2 copy, and that has been a very helpful resource. I'm not too proud to show what my copy looks like because it's well worn. I've used it over and over. I use it to teach kids. It's a very useful resource in teaching the kids that come into our boot camp and our training. So she has a very good discount going on. Instead of getting this for 7,000 naira, 9,000 naira, you can get it for 7,500 plus a piggy bank. She spoke about piggy bank. So yes, that is there. So if you need to make the order, if you're interested, you can contact that Instagram handle, EADDA Kids, or just send me a WhatsApp message and I'll quickly, I will respond to that. So let's jump right into our questions. This is like my favorite part. But before we go on, yes, we have questions and questions, but I'm going to ask the first question now. So, Mrs. Sanni, you spoke to us. Thank you so much. I learned so much and I took notes. Yes. My first question, or my question, is about the process of kids having money. So you encourage work and you also encourage finding their value, helping them to unlock their value. What do you say about paying for chores? Is that a good strategy to help kids earn money? Paying for house chores, I mean, chores at home.
Okay, it's a controversial one. And when I say controversial, not only in the African setting, even in developed countries, some parents don't understand why they will give their children money for chores. Okay, but one of the things I've told parents of the children I've worked with is Some of these things are not cast in stone. Some children can really be paid for chores. They are not entitled. So you need to watch your children. If your child is feeling entitled, then it might be wrong to pay your child for chores. And when it comes to paying children for chores, they have to be chores that are not the responsibility of that child. For example, if my child is 5-year-old and I believe that child, should wash or, clean up after himself, like wash plates, or maybe I should use an older child, like an 8-year-old, should be able to wash plates and clean up after himself, clean the table, and then I say, I will pay you for that. I'm making the child irresponsible. If that child, depending on the kind of bed the child has, can make the bed and do all of that, then I'm paying the child for that. It might not be right. But what you can do is, if that child takes on responsibility that is higher than what they can do. For example, a child is 8-year-old and tells you, I want to clean your car. That's above that child, but the child wants to do it. Or the child comes to say, I want to, help you to clean up maybe for my younger one, or something that is not their responsibility. But if they are a bit tenacious, they'll be able to get it done. Then you can decide to pay the child. But like I mentioned earlier, you need to watch your children, before you decide some of these things. I used to pay my children for chores at some point, but now I don't anymore. The reason is because I noticed how they began to respond to it. So you are also not just doing it without understanding what you are teaching or what you are passing across. Children need to, there's a lot of entitlements, these days. So children need to understand that just the same way I have to do some things as a mother in the house, they are also responsible for some things. My children are teenagers now. They can't expect me to pay them, for doing house chores. They can't. They really need to go. Maybe, let me give you an example. Maybe I'm going for a speaking engagement and my son says, I will assist you, without even being asked. I can decide to pay him for that. Or I will be in charge of ensuring that your books are sold when I go out with you. I can decide to pay him for that. That's that extra mile. But, and then there's times I say, I want you to go with me, but I'm not paying you. If you are able to sell so and so copies, then you get the profit on it. So there needs to be some effort, It's not that they'll just see it and then, do what they should do, and then you keep paying them. I say to my children that it's time for you to eat. You didn't beg for the food. Nobody's paying me for doing that. So why will I pay you for things you need to do? So it's a bit tricky, but like I said, you can watch your children. Some children are very proactive. You will see that what is pushing them is proactivity. It's not because they feel entitled. So for that kind of child, you can encourage it. You can encourage their creativity to be proactive, to look out for things they can do. Of course, after a while, a lot of things might have to go, because as they grow older, they need to take on more responsibilities in the home. And before you know it, everything is their responsibility. So which one will you have to pay for? So it's neither here nor there. It's specific.
All right. Thank you for that. And one of the next question says, what is the right time, that is age, to start giving a child pocket money? What is the right time? What is the right age to start giving a child pocket money?
You can give them as soon as you are ready to be responsible, to teach them about the money you are giving them. So don't give children money without responsibility. You can give a 2-year-old money on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. You can. You really can. But you need to teach alongside giving the money. Like I mentioned, I can use my children again as an example. When my children were still toddlers, two of them, both toddlers, One was older anyway, so was almost a child and no more a toddler. But I will give the two of them money, and then I'll say, if you are able, because I have an idea of what they should be able to save. So I say, if you are able to save, maybe let's just, for sake of an example, 1,000 by the end of the first quarter of the year, then I'll double it. The truth is, in life, if you save, there's compound interest, there's this, there's that. So it's reality. Money grows if you put it, in an investment. So it's some of those ideologies you are trying to teach them to understand. So you can do that for younger children. What it does is it helps them to understand delaying gratification. It's easy for small children to say, no, I want to buy this, I want to buy that. But you say, no. For some children, they get a lot of gifts. So you might not even need to give them pocket money. They are getting financial gifts. I don't know how common that still is, but some children really get financial gifts. So you can even use that. It may not necessarily be you giving them the money. But from as young as 2, 3, once your child can communicate, can count, can understand money and the differences, you can begin to give them pocket money. But like I mentioned, there needs to be some teaching that goes with it. A 6-year-old must save, must give. A 6-year-old can also take on responsibility with the money that they are getting as pocket money. Let me give you an example of what I mean. For a 6-year-old, for example, even though, maybe they are going to school and maybe you buy the biro as a packet, or the pencils you prefer to buy in packs. But you can tell them that I did that for my children. I was very amazed. You have to pay for your writing materials. I'm not buying them for you anymore. Sincerely, when we started doing that, we bought less pencils. And what I did was I'll buy it in bulk, and then they have to pay me for their writing material. So that spending aspect of money was not just for them to go to town and just be buying anything. They also took on personal responsibility. For a teenager, it could be things like, for females, it could be sanitary towel, some of the things they use personally. You just begin to help them to understand taking on responsibility. So the money is not just spending anyhow. They need to begin to understand how it works. So once you are able to make yourself available to teach and to monitor their progress, then you can start giving pocket money from as young as 3, depending on how fast the child is able to assimilate.
Thank you so much. And that was Chiamaka Oka for the question. I hope she answered the question to your satisfaction. Someone's hand was up, a Theresa. I don't know if you are there, Theresa. Her hand was up to ask a question. If she's still here, maybe while we're waiting for that question, there's another question that came in from Favor. Says, how to help a teen who only likes to spend? How to help a teen who only likes to spend? I hope I got that question correctly, though.
I hear the question, but there might be a need to put some more context so that I can understand better.
Yeah.
Is it that the child, I don't know.
Teresa, are you on now? Do you want to ask your question or make your contribution? Your hand was up for a bit.
Yes, I'm here.
If she can.
Good. Okay, go on.
Good evening, Mrs. Sanni.
Thank you. Good evening.
I'm so happy. I'm so glad to be here. My big sister, Favor, sent me this link, and I'm so glad to be here this evening. And I've really learned a lot too as a parent. I have a few questions. I have a 6-year-old plus and a 3-year-old plus, my kids. So for a while now, say going 2 years, I've introduced to them the culture of savings. But I think the problem there is that I'm the one that is not consistent with it. For my little boy, I noticed he's always very excited to take the money and go and put in the piggy box. Same with my daughter. But there's something I've noticed with my daughter. When it comes to maybe spending or buying little things for herself, she would rather want to spend my own money and not the one in her piggy box. So I don't really know how to cope with that. Is it that it's something peculiar with their age and with time they are going to change? I think that's the only question I have for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. But do you know it's human nature? If you have the opportunity not to spend your money now, will you spend it?
No.
Yeah, so it's human nature. Those are some of the things, like I mentioned earlier, that we can begin to mold. So you see, imagine, let's stretch it. Imagine her how old is your daughter?
She's 6 plus, going 7.
Yeah. So imagine her in 20 years' time. She's married, she has money. She may not want to spend her money. And then her husband is complaining. I don't know if you understand what I mean. So some of these things didn't just start when we became adults. They were things we already had in our minds, in our recesses somewhere. So what you need to do is to begin to give them assignments for their money. You know, now what they've been doing is they save all. A 6-year-old can actually break money into 3 equal parts or 3 parts, depending on the percentages you decide to use. So a portion will be saved. A portion will be given out. You make it is a rule. It's not, your child doesn't have a choice that in this. You are going to tell them, you are going to give out a percent of this money. See, this the only choice your child will have is who to give and what to give. You can allow your child to decide all of that. Then that percentage for spending, a portion of it, you can give it an assignment, like I mentioned. What can your child begin to pay for by herself? You know, not to burden her, but just so she begins to understand that as a responsible individual and part of the family, there are some things you need to contribute. You know, so if I'm able to make money as a wife or as a child, I should be able to help. Some of those things are what she will learn. And, you know, by the time she starts working, she will understand, oh, I need to be able to give to my mom, or I give to my dad, or give to my family because I grew up in that family. You know, so you need to sit down to see how you can incorporate ensuring that they practice the 3S. And you need to tell them this upfront. So it's not that when there's a lot of money, you now say you need to spend it this way. Your child will revolt. You know, even if you put your feet down and say no because you are the parents, is also unfair. You know, so what you need to do is upfront, you'll agree. Whenever we want to spend or we want to manage our money, this is the way we are going to do it. So regular money meetings need to happen. You understand? It could be monthly, it could be quarterly. It depends on how much they have to handle and what it can do.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sanni. That question was from Teresa. Teresa, thank you for your contribution. Before we wrap up, we can take just one more comment. If there's any, just drop it in the chat box if there's any while I'm trying to wrap up. So thank you so much to every single person who joined.
There's a question we've not sister, sorry, but I
Okay,
don't
can
know
you
if she's around. The one about the teen who likes to spend money. I don't know if the parent is still around.
that one, the teen who likes to spend more than, that's the one I read. You said you needed more context.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, if she's
Can
still
the
here,
parent give more context?
okay. Yeah,
Yes.
Mrs. Favor, if you're still in the
Yes,
chat
I
room, you
still see
can
the
drop
person
more
online.
context if you can in the chat box so we can understand fully what you actually wanted to ask. But in the meantime, this has been Parents Connect. We've been talking to Mrs. Sanni, and a financial planner, also of ABC of Financial Intelligence for Kids, like I stated earlier, and it's been a very huge resource, a helpful resource for me in teaching my the young kids that I teach financial intelligence and financial literacy. Thank you so much, Ma, and it's been an explosive session while we're still waiting for that final one. If you're not a part of the community, the Early Flight Parents Connect community, if maybe you got the link to join from somebody, but you would like to get our regular links, you'd like to get the replays, because these sessions are recorded and we can send you the replay if you want. So if you'd like to get the replays, you'd like to be part of the community, please send me a message on WhatsApp or meet us on Instagram at Early Flight Academy and send us a message. Thank you very much. So please be a part of the community. And something very, very important, Parents Connect is a webinar series. We've done 9 episodes, and I'm pleased to announce to you, my awesome community, that the next episode is the 10th episode, and that is the end of the first season. So after that episode, we're not going to have another episode, the penultimate Thursday. The second episode will be announced to you. I know we've had fun. It's been a jolly, almost how many weeks now? Almost 20 weeks, because we have like sessions every other Thursday. It's been 10 explosive, mind-blowing episodes. We want to say thank you to every single person who has been a part of the community and growing. Please, if you like to join the community, share to people, to parents, if you really think that what's going on here has been helpful to you. So please share, and we're looking forward to having you on our last episode for the season next upper Thursday, and it will be announced to the community. So if you're not on the mailing list, please join the mailing list. And I think the final question has come in. How do I help him be more responsible rather than just spending? Yes.
Okay, so since he's a teenager already, I think you need to introduce the concept of work. Whenever he's on holiday, let him get a holiday job and begin to make money himself. And as soon as he's able to do this, then some things that you will do for him, let him begin to do it himself. So let him begin to understand the relationship between work and money. And you'll see that he will start understanding that, if I don't work, I won't be able to make this money. And if I've worked this hard to make this little, then I may not be able to spend this much. So that's a good way of helping your child, understand that. Then you also need to teach your child to delay gratification. Don't always give him everything he wants. So because in real life too, I'm sure as a parent, we don't always have what we want. Sometimes we need to wait, sometimes we need to save for a while, sometimes it takes time, sometimes some things we think should take months, takes years. So those are some of the ways you can begin to help him. Let him begin to take some responsibility and see how work becomes money, so that he can begin to understand. When he understands the relationship, because I don't know how much a child can earn, for working, but if your child works for, let's say, 1 month, and all he could get is, let's say, just an example, is 20,000. In the 20,000, is taking transport, or he has to bear some cost of transportation. Even if you have to take him there, you can request that, considering the fact that you are the one going to work, you need to bear some of the cost of the fuel that takes you to work and back, and make it as close to reality as it is. Once he understands the value of money, it will help him understand that you don't just make money and spend everything. Some of us adults who knew how to really spend money before, is when responsibility came that we started knowing how to ration and how to, let some things go. So those are some of the things you can begin to do. And you need to be firm, because some children can really be manipulative. So you need to be very firm when you make up your mind to do this.
Okay.
There's another question that came in.
Okay.
In line with what I just said, the answer to that is you need to be firm.
Okay.
Don't allow their asking, to make you weak. There are some things I want as I am now. There's nothing I can do until I have the money. I really might not be able to get it, so you need to help them to understand delayed gratification, just exactly the way it works. So don't allow their talking, weaken your own defenses. Whatever they do, smile, teach, and maintain what you have said before. After a while, they understand that that's your stand, and they will learn to go by it.
All right. And thank you so much. Just to recap what she has said, some very salient points for me. Take advantage of teachable moments. Maybe when something comes up and it has to do about money, with money, take advantage of that opportunity to pass a lesson, to teach them about money. So take advantage of teachable moments. Also for the younger children, those who are before their teen years, you have to show them that money cannot just be spent. So the 3 S's, which is save, share, and spend. So that's for younger children. While the older kids have about 6 components to talk about: financial freedom, saving for big spending, personal development, very, very important, play or entertainment, charity, and then spending. So these are things she has talked about. And then something which is very, very, very important as well. They need to understand the concept of work, how the money even comes about. Helping them, especially teenage people, engage in work experience helps them to value this money, like she has said. When they see how it comes about, how they're able to ration it, they're going to have much more value for money. And the overall, why do we even need to teach our children about money? Is it too early? Is it unnecessary? It's about imbibing a type of mindset. It's about teaching them particular skills, patience, delayed gratification, long-term thinking, amongst others that she has mentioned. So thank you so much. It's been a very helpful session. It's been recorded. If you want the replay to share to people, or you were not able to stay through because of network, I got you. I'll send you the replay. Just join the community. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sanni. It's been an awesome time. 1 hour plus with you. And thank you to 30 plus of you who joined in today's session. It was really, really amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. With that, we've come to the end of today's Parents Connect. See you same time on the 3rd of June, I think. See you same time in 2 Thursdays from now. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.